played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Welcome, everybody, live here from the virtual Michigan International Speedway for race number 8 of the number 7, rather, of the VRX World Cup. I'm your host, Bradley Cooper. Alongside me tonight, Justin Prince up in the booth. And last week, we saw a first time for everything. We saw drivers get some of their first-time top 10s. Some guys bring their way towards the end of this season. Chris Hodges gets his first win of the season. Picked a fine time to do it, JP.
And now has the momentum to be able to try and charge towards the championship race indeed. His first win after being amongst those competing in the top 10 just about every single week coming into last week. This week, he's still the only driver to finish in the top 10 every single week. Richard Hurst is 18 points back after a rough race in turn, and now the pressure is on for him. James Wagoner, Casey Ellis amongst those within 44 points of your points leader. You also throw out the mixed drivers like Brian Henning's going to need some points to gather back up in these final few races of the campaign. Now the main pressure points is on, knowing the finales at Daytona. You have to get it done at MIS if you want to get the most points possible with the unpredictability of a super speedway to close it.
Yeah, Daytona is going to be a coin flip, and if you don't perform well here, you're really relying on, well, the outcome that you don't know. And you can't really take that race into your own hands. So here tonight, this is where you got to do it. If you're Chris Hodges, if you're Hurst, if you're anybody really in this top 3, Wagoner, this is the time to capitalize, because next week at Daytona, there's no guarantees.
Now, as we talked about already, we are at MIS. It's a track that recently seen repaves in the 2010s, and it being the second to last race here. With the package on hand expected for these Gen 6 machines, we might have similar methods to a super speedway, but not quite. As in, draft going to be critical, track position even more critical, aero push and aero tight going to be major key points in the pack tonight.
Yeah, you're going to have to find clean air, and some of these guys will run the outside to try to get that clean air, but it's really going to burn off the right front, so you have to be careful not to run it for too long. Overtaking probably going to happen a lot on the exits of the corner. But if you get into that dirty air midway in the apex, you'll find yourself pushing towards that outside wall, and it's going to make it really difficult to complete that pass. You'll see multi-groove racing similar to what we saw at Chicagoland, but I think overall it's really going to amount to the guys that are able to be patient and save their tires in the long run.
Now, as the drivers prepare for tonight's action, they have a minute to go in the warm-up session. Here's a look at the race details. Remember, 80% the fuel limit for this race, 125 laps the distance, 250 miles here at MIS. And with just 3 tire sets available, you essentially don't really have that many options outside of use the sets when you can take them for the pit stops needed, about 2 expected. And then that third set, it's a question mark. With how tight it can get, we might see a no tire stop that we've seen a couple times before trying to save a set.
Yeah, drivers did that at Chicago, and then they looked like geniuses towards the end of the race. We had a late race caution. Hodges was able to come from about the 13th position and work his way through the field with about 25 to go. And we saw a couple other drivers, first top 10 for Teresa Spiker. She was one of those drivers with 10 to go that took tires and raced her way up into the top 10. So there was quite a few different strategies, and ultimately, if you can save that last set, it could do you a lot of good if we get a late caution. Otherwise, you're kind of in the bed and you got to lay in it. If they don't have that caution, you're going to have an extra set when you leave this track.
Final practice is complete for tonight's festivities. That brings us into the Carpe Diem Pole Award, presented to the fastest driver in each event's qualifying session, with prizes donated for this season, including custom glassware and keychains. I'd like to thank Carpe Diem for its support this season in presenting the drivers a variety of personalized items in the VRX World Cup. If it's a moment with a loved one or a memory captured throughout life, find the perfect custom item to match it from Carpe Diem Creations. On the pole, how about by 5 1,000ths, Paul McDonald is able to set the top time in the session this evening. The 33 looked quick in final practice at times in the pack. The qualifying pace very much higher on the board. And you know who will start alongside? The last driver in the whole field to take a time, PJ Cox, beat the time to be able to set time by about a couple seconds. 5 1,000ths back, he starts in second. Row 2, it's Chris Phillips, who set his time on a heater on lap 2. Couple 1,000ths off the pole. He'll start 8 1,000ths ahead of Christopher Hodges. Bill Daniels starts off in row 3. He set his fastest lap on his second lap, a 7 1,000ths improvement. He'll still alongside the 3, John Hudson. Jeff Scott starts in the next spot. His 38 machine will be alongside the red and black 15, Jeffrey Hunter. Rounding out your top 10 starting spots tonight, the green and white 56. And looking to try and see if they can get a sing-along approved for Daytona, Casey Ellis looking to try and see if the field will sing along next week for Iris, but with Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls.
That's interesting to me. I like Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls, but I don't know how that's any relevance to St. Patty's Day. David Collins starting in 11th. Edward Fiedler is going to start, or Fiedler rather, in 12th. 13th position, William Britton, James Wagner in 14th. Greg Spiker in 15th position, actually an EOL for the 65 here tonight. Penalty after last week. Daryl Aronson will be on that 16th. We'll move up a spot. Jimmy Socks, Greg Pillar in the top 20. Richard Hurst and Teresa Spiker.
21st spot tonight goes the way of Michael Howerton. But the final drivers to take times tonight. Jared Epker starts in 22nd. Mike Chivers starts off in the 23rd position in the red, white, and blue, number 5, the All-American Paint Scheme, alongside the 14 in sim of Ricky Evans. Then the 25th position goes to Joseph Fagioni, who went upside down a couple times last week alongside Logan Waterburn. Brian Hennings was learning about how to drive the racetrack in the midst of final practice tonight. He starts 27th alongside Brooke Rakowski. And Tony Richards did not make it to the starting grid, was the only driver not to set a qualifying time here tonight. Race Control has just warned the 6 of Chris Phillips for a technical issue, so inside row 2 having a problem here, your keys to victory as Phillips, for some reason, is going 3 wide before the start.
keys to victory. Hopefully the connection clears up whatever the technical issue is. And if it's something to do with VR or monitors, hopefully we can get that cleared. But for me personally, I think it's just going to be being patient, sitting behind somebody for... You got those draft laps that pull you right back up to that guy and you think, well, I got to run, I'll take it to the inside. Don't do that, because that's going to make you burn those tires up so much faster. If you can be patient and sit behind somebody, maybe let a couple cars go by, you can afford it later in the run when you're 2-3 tenths faster. That's going to be the discipline to win this race.
Interesting enough, half the field is in one of two different groupings of alliances tonight. Your keys to win, knowing, or rather, your favorite to win, knowing half the field has made friends with one another, or at least partnerships of 8 to 9 drivers each.
Well, those partnerships with the bounty on Teresa Spiker tonight, I believe it's up to $11,000 in Monopoly money. I think my favorite here on the top 10, I'm going to go with Jeff Scott. I think he has the goods here to get the win. 38 car is going to be fast.
Green flag is set. We're racing from Michigan. The penultimate round underway for VRX. And on the apron to the lead, Chris Phillips showed his hands early, already to the point. How long does that last is the question as they go 2 and 3 wide down the back.
Phillips able to get to the inside. He pretty much drove it on the apron. That bottom seam working really well. And I don't know about you, JP, but we haven't really seen that bottom seam work here at Michigan very well.
Usually you want to be above the first seam, especially in the Gen 6 car. Already, McDonald retakes the lead for the lap. Expect a lot of swapping possibly in the early going. With it being such a clean air racetrack, but also such a big draft effect racetrack with this package. Bill Daniels already up to second, 2 by 2 behind him.
There you see your points leader working his way into the top 5 on the
Trouble.
outside.
Back of the field, Ricky Evans, Darrell Aronson amongst those in the wall. We're under caution already.
And lap number 2, it looks like Evans maybe came off a little low, got loose. Back on the insert replay and take a look, but I think I caught him at the tail end. Spiker.
Mamba T with some contact coming down. And then 3 wide at about a lane and a half, I think we've seen there.
That was just a pinball effect. Once the 14 got contact with Mamba T, bounced back up the racetrack quite a few times, just trying to correct it. And I believe that was the 11 that tried to go in between all of that. We'll ride on board with him coming out of 4, or out of 2.
On board, this is Jared Epker.
I don't think the 11 voluntarily put in his car. He got kind of voluntold to be there after that contact. And just unfortunately in the wrong spot.
Aero damage is going to be a very big part of tonight. You don't want it, let's put it that way. Epker, a part of that, has air already between the hose and the hood. And fuel mileage, already seen some top-offs. At least 4 or 5 drivers coming down, including those involved in the caution.
I see William Britton. I see the 56 of Richards. Looks like the 21 of Hurst. So the fuel strategy, I mean, this race is notorious for becoming a fuel race. That battle can absolutely start. Once these drivers get spread out, too, with the pit stops, you can see 4 or 5 cars break away from the rest of the field. And then the draft doesn't matter as much. You don't have to worry about people running right back up to your bumper every turn.
And I think fuel mileage is going to be huge tonight, and hence why we just seen drivers like Britton, who needs points, topping off there. Think about this when the Gen 6 car was still running, obviously, in the Coke Series. About half the field tried to stretch out the fuel, the normal range at the time for 100% fuel, about 46, 47 laps to lap 50. The reason being, it was more advantageous for some, in their opinion, to make it a one-stopper. It worked for some to get a top 5, not a race-winning call, but it got them a lot less time in the pit lane.
Yeah, the pit road on this racetrack is over a mile long, so it takes a considerable amount of time to get down it at that 55 miles per hour. And then you have the whole apron that you have to go around to exit as well, and trying to keep it down below that yellow line. You lose a lot of race time. So being up to speed longer, I guess, kind of a simple mathematical equation. If you go back and look at the average time, it probably did pay off to just do it in one stop.
So McDonald gets ready to take the one-to-go signal. It's his first pole of the season. In fact, his first top 5 start of the season. We've seen McDonald do well a few weeks ago, being able to lead some laps in the 33. Now, looking to see if he can lead some laps and then some from the front. You can already tell just squinting at some of these cars, though. Like most weeks, they're bottoming out hard on the splitter, and knowing the bumps down the front straightaway and on parts of that apron, going to be an understatement on how many drivers are going to be scraping the front parts off that splitter.
Yeah, this car got into the more reliant mode of downforce, and we talk about the evolution of the bodies of these cars, especially the next gen now. That's why they have such difficulty passing each other. When you start to damage those splitters or change any parts of this aero package, it gets even more difficult to pass. So you want to mitigate the damage. I know with the splitters on these cars, they're not as important, but they can, over time, kind of work that right front up the racetrack. And if you're bottoming out, you kind of feel that effect and the car will push.
Coming up to start lap 6 when we get to the restart zone. Already 120 laps to go. Fuel mileage on the minds of many. At least 6 drivers coming down to top off. 5 of them just to top off. Near stack up at the very back of the field, but into the restart zone they go. McDonald inside, Phillips outside. Back underway. And a lot of gaps in the field. Phillips actually beating out the race leader to the stripe. No instant penalty, but there is one towards the back for Benjamin Richards due to a stack up at the back.
Hey, you see Richards back there in the 56 and 64 Britain. They're way off this pack now, trying to get it up to full song as they come out of turn 2. They lost probably a full 3-4 seconds on the rest of this field after that. And I would say the 3 cars in front of them were the culprits.
Coming in this time by, he's already indicated on the radio. Up at the front, already to second, Christopher Hodges. But even bigger, Jeffrey Hunter, up 6 if he can make the move, work on the Ford.
Down to the bottom here in 1 and 2. He's going to push him up the track a little bit here to try to get his entry. The 34 going to get that late apex, and that's kind of the trick here. You see the run off the corner the 34 is going to get, almost tags the wall, but look at the surge of speed. The 3 of Hudson going to push him, and the 15 not able to capitalize on that field position. Falls back to 4.
Interesting enough, a lot of drivers not afraid to slide it across the exit of turn 4 up to the banking. What a charge to the pack for drivers like Michael Howerton already. Mike Howerton up 15 spots in not even 10 laps. I'm not shocked, but we do have a new race leader. Christopher Hodges has passed Phillips through turn 2, and the Fords look comfortable to start.
So you see that bump draft, that's where we talk about how critical it is to stay in the wake of a car. The 6 of Phillips sucks right back up to Hodges down that backstretch. If he can stay in that wake, whoever ends up being the fastest car in the long run, you want to tag along with them. They'll pull you away from the rest of this field. You just have to be careful not to burn your stuff up staying in that wake.
And also be careful not to fight for too long, because you spend a lot of time side by side, trading positions, going back and forth. It might be very difficult to get back to the draft. Michael Howerton trying to make some moves inside. Casey Ellis zips by. But for reference, Jeff Scott, with that fight that's going on in front, just about holding on to the draft. Team nearly lost it previously.
So Scott back here in 10th position. I think here to get up to this top 10, he's going to have to get back in the wake of that car. Don't follow the 707 down way too low on the entry of the corner. Not going to work out. As you'll see Collins probably get a bad run off the corner. Doesn't get any gain. 24 Michael Howerton just in front.
All the drivers compressed together in this pack for the time being. Top 23 within 2.5 seconds on the circuit. Still looking towards some of those lead drivers. Phillips looking for a switch. In fact, looking for a side draft. No dice. Teamwork makes the dream work. John Hudson helping out Hodges here in the midst of this pack as they still shuffle together. Now talking about the partnerships, John Hudson is a part of that alliance grouping we talked about with drivers like David Collins, the Spikers, Jeff Hunter, Mike Howerton, many more working in that partnership. You compare that to some of the others, you have Aronson, Wagoner, Jeff Scott, Paul McDonald, and many more also working in a separate mega alliance, and then the rest of the field's in 2 to 4 car groupings.
When I'm watching here in the background, Brian Hennings coming all the way from the back of the field here. He started in the 27th position. He's all the way up to 11th right now. So whatever he did in the pre-race, he must have figured something out because he's late apexing. He's driving it a little bit deeper into the corner. And watch the run he gets off the corner here on Ellis.
Good run, a great run, in fact. Funnily enough, I believe he was asking you for some of the advice, and one of the main things I think both of us emphasized, don't go below that first seat.
Yeah.
Because that's a bit different banking grading. It's about 2 to 3 degrees flatter. That can destroy your tires.
Yeah, it might feel fast for a couple laps, or you might be able to run down there, but it's scrubbing the speed, and overall, this car is already scrubbing enough speed. You can see the sparks when we go on board with some of these cars that they're bouncing off this racetrack. It gives you kind of a false sense of grip when that car isn't bottoming out, and then suddenly it hits that transition of that flatter part of the track, and then you're in trouble.
Speaking of,
almost.
Yes, he is in 3 wide, in fact, on the outside. That Sox inside, a bit of a push-up from the blue machine of David Collins. Keep it clean. Now, one main mindset started to pop up here as you see some of the shuffling. Top line becoming the line you need to be for corner exit, up for the race lead. We've already seen Hodges shuffle back. Phillips might be at risk too if he can't find a hole to get back topside.
Well, he's definitely in trouble. The 3 of Hudson holding it up there. He's done well to play defense, but conversely enough, he drives it to the bottom here for the entry at 3, and I'm not sure if maybe this track on the opposite side's better to come in low. It looks like maybe it's working out for some of these guys. But there on the outside, the 6 gets a better run. Little turbulence back here with Hurst. Sox on the bottom, 4 wide down the front stretch.
Gioni having to back out a bit aggressively. The squirt machine nearly got squirted towards the wall with how things look back there. Still keep racing as they settle out 2 by 2 in a couple groupings. A lot of drivers starting to get very tight. John Hudson's just made contact, near contact, and on screen with Hurst nearly to the back of the Sox.
Yeah, he definitely touched him. He was getting loose coming off of 2 as well, so when he got into the back bumper, it really upset the car and now drives it all the way to that bottom seam. You're going to see the 38 probably get a run here on the exit. He's going to lose this spot.
Run builds up topside where a majority of the drivers have now lined up alongside that wall. And it's the smart play for many drivers to be up there by the exit and along the front straightaway especially. Back straightaway if you don't have help. You can't make a pass, or better yet, can't get pushed back if you can't get alongside and get a side draft for the right rear where it's extremely sensitive. We've seen especially with the low horsepower, high downforce package and the super speedway packages with this car.
You see the run again, the 74 car really putting it on now, up into the top 5 for Hennings. Ellis and looks like Hodges are falling back. Both these cars were fast in the short run, but seemed like once that bottom line faded away, These cars just can't stay on the bottom of the racetrack. You see people still trying it, but it's just not there.
Yeah, they're destroying their tires the more they run like that. You'd have to argue. Logan Waterer amongst those who just tried it in the battle for 11-12 spot. Yet again, though, not able to clear by. You need to clear if you want a chance to hold on to the pass you just made. And Waterer now is being left out to dry. Wagoner's even quicker on the inside, but both of them slow each other up.
You saw PJ Cox in the 05. He started in the second position here today, but he's fallen outside the top 10, back to 11th. He's trying to get back up there past David Collins. He has the nose, but again, comes to the bottom of the racetrack. Looks like Collins going to get the run on the outside. That outside line just dominant here tonight, JP. And we got trouble. The 65 into the 30. That's Greg Spiker down the backstretch.
Caution flag is out. Wagoner stops on the track. And that's her second yellow flag. Caution is under review. Good save by Wagoner, but did he really need to stop on the back straight away to save it?
I think at that point it was a matter of I'm watching the entire field go by. I just went from about 15th position back to last. I think I'm going to stop this car, whether it's saved or not.
Field coming out of turn 2, and we might just about be in a pit window here, or pretty close to one. Let's take a look. And looks fine until here.
Spiker maybe got up into the outside. I don't know who that was. I think it was the 50. I couldn't really tell there. Let's see if we can get a better angle of this.
They've just given cause of caution to the 65, Greg Spiker. So our second cause caution by a Spiker.
That was a 90 machine on the outside, so Spiker maybe comes up on top. Back it up one more time. We're going to find a better angle here.
Yeah, race control did say that was the cause right there in front of the 90.
Yep. I think the best look at it is going to be on board. As we're hitting pit road, I'll get one more angle on it, but you're going to see Spiker just travel up a little too high here.
They didn't really touch, but it was close enough to take it off the spoiler, the air. But as you said, pit stop time for the field. And interesting calls once again. A lot of fuel-only calls for the field. A couple 4-tire calls. Most of it, though, as expected with the tire sets being so, well, thin in margin, fuel only, including still drivers still coming onto the racetrack.
I see Hennings. Looks like he took 4 tires, and then everyone around him fuel only. Let's go all the way back to Ricky Evans if you want to find a 4-tire stop again. Maybe some right sides for Fiedler. Interesting calls here. I know this car has been a little unpredictable, so maybe 2 tires would help it turn, but you have to think with the aero push that you're getting, the car could get away from you once you get into clean air and get that downforce. We'll have to wait and see.
And we just had an interesting play. I think pit road's closed for Phillips. He just rolled in. Chris Phillips is in, and this might be a penalty in sim. Black flag, 6 closed pit road entry.
Well, that's a lonely spot to be when you went from first position to black flagged back to the end of the longest line. I mean, he's probably going to be there anyway because of this, but, you know, both these cars that are on pit road right now, the 34, they might have just shot themselves in the foot because this is going to be tough to come back. I know topping off of fuel seems important, but there's a good chance we get another yellow, and you could have done that later on down the line.
So the 34 also tops off there. He did pit the first wave. Race control It's Curly double checking the penalty, but remember, it's a 40-second stop and hold normally from the sim if you enter a closed pit. Race control is being told, is telling Chris Phillips they will apply the EOL version of the penalty, not the 40. So Chris Phillips will start towards the tail. It is a league rule. You must not enter a closed pit.
Yeah, that one might be chalked up. I mean, it's a stop-and-go penalty. They've lessened the harshness of it, but they're going to have to pay closer attention to that because they kind of opened up a can of worms here for the rest of the field to do the same thing, and you can only EOL so many drivers before they're inverted. So they're going to have to be careful with that penalty call because we go back green, we get another yellow, guys are going to be doing that all race long.
Coming to the restart. Lap 22 back underway. John Hudson, a good launch. Back underway. Richard Hurst in second. As they sort things out here on how this will be played out in terms of the penalty. The 6 currently having his penalty still under review. Race control will have the decision within the next couple laps, they say. Phillips has to serve a black flag regardless right now in sim. The next 3 laps. Up front, single file for the top 4. Keep it on the fresh tires of Hennings and company quickly, though, as they have indeed elected EOL only for the 6.
So on the outside, riding with Hennings and those fresh tires. And they're making a subtle difference right now, not getting a huge run into the wall there briefly. A big check up there with a 51 car who stayed out. Actually, 51, Arneson took fuel on that last stop, but he takes him 3 wide. I'm not sure if he got loose. Maybe that full tank of fuel starting to affect the handling on those older tires.
He pit after the first caution for some of the repairs, remember. He was a part of that 3 wide and a lane and a half into the wall. Hennings right now playing the safety game, it seems, more than anything else, just trying to pick his lines. Richard Hurst, meanwhile, to the race lead on the outside. And right now, the 21 trying to break the draft, not playing the same game as everybody else. That's allowing Logan Waterman to jump up the second.
We watched Waterman there in practice. He was one of the faster cars, and you asked me, JP, can he do it during qualifying? He did not have the qualifying that he wanted whatsoever. Started back in 26th. He was not even close to that lap time, so mistake on qualifying, but we know he has the speed, and he's showing it up here into the top 3 here at lap 25.
He's still working that top line for now, trying to play some defensive maneuvers. Jimmy Sox starting to make it 3 wide, though. We already seen before the caution some of that. John Hudson keeps it out of the fence. Jeff Scott rejoins. Caution flag is out as the 3 stomps in towards the grass. Somehow, Hudson survives. How did he not hit that wall?
Awareness, I guess. I mean, we can go back and look at it and figure it out, but I think most of it was just a little bit of luck here. We can find a better angle.
Yeah. You can kind of see it coming with the turn down from him, but most times you're smacking that left front into the wall.
Yeah, I think that jettison there where the racetrack just changes enough. The angle of the wall. Let's go on board with them here.
Take a listen. Wow.
Yeah.
You talk about razor's edge. You can fit a paper through just about barely into that space.
Yeah, it doesn't get any closer than that, and I'm sure that he needs to buy a lottery ticket after this race because his luck is at the max he just spent. And again, kudos to the people that built Michigan International for building the wall just exactly at that angle.
Who do we see come down this time? How about the roulette spinning Richard Hurst and many more into the pit lane? Nobody's playing any games here with the fuel mileage, especially knowing the next restart comes with 100 laps to go. This for sure puts drivers into a fuel window for later on in the race, but now it's the matter of what window becomes the one that stays open.
We see Sox and a few others take right sides at the very least, maybe 4 tires there for the 01. Top off with Hennings. I think overall this fuel battle, if it continues, it's going to be a matter of who pit at the right time for that right caution, because this race could go green at any time. We saw a little bit of theatrics at Auto Club, but since then they've given pass-through penalties to drivers for anything over, I believe it was 12x or 14x, somewhere in there. So it's calmed this field down tremendously. We saw some great racing since then.
Jeff Scott, EOL penalty as the cause to caution for race control. But as we're already within the 100 lap mark, I should say, it becomes the nervousness maybe of some, because you have fresh tires, you have old tires, you have a lot of different calls here. Some drivers that don't even know if they've used a set yet in some of these cases.
Yeah, I don't see Water, and he doesn't have tires. Hunter probably hasn't used any. There's probably 6 or 7 cars on this racetrack that haven't used a set of 4 yet. And that list is getting thinner and thinner, so keeping track of who has what at this point is going to be rather difficult, especially from our stand of view. Like, you can look at these guys and see that the tires they're pretty much a second off on the fall off already.
So it's Waterburn, Hunter, Daniels, Teresa Spiker, Britton, and Cox, your top 6. It's very intriguing how there's been that quote-unquote bounty for Mama T as well. Because did you know you can buy Monopoly money now? I will double-check the count in terms of the value of money, Monopoly money to the U.S. currency rate currently. But the estimate in Canada, at least, is $10. 10 for that total.
$8 USD, I would say.
I'll make sure of that total, but your thoughts on the race so far?
I think these guys need to calm down. They've got the momentum. There's plenty of speed on this racetrack. But right now, the way it sits, if you're uncomfortable or unconfident with the line that you're doing, change it. Because right now, you've got a tire advantage or a disadvantage. You can't afford to second guess yourself. Stick with your line. Let's dial it in and see if we can get a long green flag run.
By the way, for those curious, did you know that the current conversion rate as of a couple years ago is for every $1 in real life, it's 500 Monopoly dollars. So you can do the math from there. Also, there's a crypto called Monopoly. It is worth about 9 thousandths of a cent. We're back underway, 2x2.
Don't even get me started on that, JP. I'm going to have a Moza wheel here soon. Thank you. Thank you, Crypto.
Second place, Bill Daniels. Already utilizing an inside line well. We have Britton, who was once one of the first drivers to drop off during the early caution flags, trying to push him.
It was good to see Britton finally working his way up into the top 5. Started outside of the top 10. All the way to the bottom of the racetrack now for Britton. He's going to dive it to the inside and see if he can get the nose advantage. Doesn't have quite the run out of the exit. Daniel's going to lead this time by, pinches him down into the entry.
That was an interesting side draft attempt, but the Green Dragon Herbal Clinic machine up to the race lead, making it look very easy. Already 4 times Britton's been to the pit lane, whether it's been for any tire sets, 2 tires likely in his case, or in the multiple times, saving the gas, topping off, adding more fuel mileage to this run. As there goes Mama T amongst some of the 3 wide.
That's the check up for the 1 car. Now has the 15 on the back bumper. Jeffrey Hunter tries to push on by, but yeah, Water and slid right up in front. Mama had nowhere to go. I don't know how many more times she'll relax and let that happen, but another drive here to the outside in 1 and 2.
Amat's making it pretty clear she's amongst those on fresh tires. And 11 laps ago, this might actually work out pretty well if the cautions lay where she needs them to go. She prefers the top, it seems, but there is a big difference on speed even in 11 laps because already Ricky Evans with some runs to the inside, making a couple passes. The drivers who just took rubber are as high up as 8th with Brian Hennings, or rather towards the pit lane. Those with fresh tires, James Wagner, up to 12th.
That'll work for a little bit longer, but I mean, the 30 cars is kind of 2 for 1 come out on 1 and 2. We talked about that fall off. Wagner almost a full second faster than some of these cars out here on the racetrack right now, like John Hudson, who's been out there for quite a long time. But you can see
that's Jeffrey Hunter with some problems in the heart of the pack. They are able to hold on to it. That was with a little bit of aero loose off the 74. Let's take a look. Might have been more than aero loose. Might have been a touch.
Yeah, I think that was a touch. Oh,
Yet,
wow.
And nearly Wagner got involved in an error one this time, just avoided it.
Yeah, Wagner's lucky that he steered it back, and that could have been an overcorrection, so the 15 lucky as well, and that car stayed stable. You can see right now, water had fallen through this field. Spiker up ahead of this pack as they work their way into the top 5.
It's pretty wild what we've seen so far already, under 92 laps to go. The top 2 are currently almost 4 seconds ahead of that entire gaggle of cars. Yeah, Bill Daniels up with William Britton. Mama T has another 2 seconds as the cushion to that big pack. That's how big some of these differences are amongst some of the tires on track and how big some of the side-by-side has cost the time for many more. As here we go, near
I
peak.
don't know if Daniels is listening to us right now, but he has much fresher tires than the 64 car, and all he needs to do is back these corners up. Stop trying to match the line of the 64. He follows him down low. He needs to go up a lane and get the run off the exits. You can see how much the 64 is tight on the exit of these corners. If Daniels just, there he's going to go to the inside, but if Daniels had moved that car up, he would have had an even better run here on the exit. Here's a crossover.
And Britton goes for a slider through 3 and 4. This is not what either of them need to have if they want to keep the buffer. They've lost near half a second with this side-by-side for the lead. Daniels able to hold on, though, for the time being. Finally, they sort it out.
Talking about a deficit of about 2 seconds here back to the 70 of Teresa Spiker. Then behind her, some fresher tires trying to work their way closer. They are a second behind Hennings, Evans, Hudson. It's all over 3 wide back there in those positions, still trying to duke it out. Here comes the 3 car, much fresher tires.
John Hudson after the save, having to take a set because he really buzzed the last set. It really happens that way when you have to lock up the brakes as hard as he did. But right now, Hudson running 39.9s. The leaders are running up to 6/10 slower than that on the racetrack.
A little bit deeper in the heart of this field, 22nd position right now on board with Chris Hodges. One of those cars that's on an entirely different stick, came down and topped off with fuel in that last time, but he's now 9 laps rather into this stint. That's about how long we've been green, and he hasn't picked up any positions from where he restarted.
It's here the play on the long game when it comes to this, you'd have to think. Or just the struggles right now. And it moves back to the conversation we had before today. I was nervous even in calling the distance that he had right now coming in, a potential lock because of Daytona. A race like this is not what he needed entering the finale.
It's not, and honestly, the way that this race is shaping up, he might have put himself in a bad spot with that EOL, and the 6 and 34 both are still deep in the heart of this field, you know, top 21st, 22nd position, and we're talking about 8-9 seconds back in some cases. That's going to be a hard feat. This race goes green. You see a pass here for third. Teresa Spiker on the outside, John Hudson. But this field, even though they're getting racy with each other, they still haven't lost time. And that, if you're 20th on back right now, you're kind of thinking, okay, do we get any more yellows?
Look back again to the 15 machine. Hunter, after that massive slide, continuing to just drive backwards. Oh, and there's pit stops coming up. Logan Waterburn, not even 40 laps in with all the cautions, has to pit. So shrink that fuel window much more than that. In fact, he might be out. He is really taking this cautiously.
Well, he's one of the few cars that hadn't hit pit road yet, and unfortunately, he has to come down here and get those tires as well because he's right at about that stint of 40 laps where you have to take him at this point.
But that includes all the pace laps. We had, what, 3 cautions nearly. That's not a great sign for the overall mileage at 80%. Never mind, caution flag is out. Guess who looks like a genius? The 24 with a spin. Greg Pillar is wrong way around on the back straightaway as well. We're under yellow.
So Waterman's got to get back out here on the racetrack. Does he get back out in time?
He's got to get to the cone. He's got to get to the cone and fast, and I think he might be a lap down. Yes, he is.
It almost worked out. Had that caution happened maybe a couple 100 feet sooner, he would have looked like a genius. He will get the wave by, though. I think he's the only car a lap down right now.
So Logan Waterburn may need a wave around at the very least. And that's not a guarantee. He beat almost everybody. We'll see where iRacing scores him. Behind the top 2. But it is, apparently the 38 was also involved per race control. We'll see what happened in a moment or so as Michael Howardson was amongst those who spun.
I might have backed this up a little bit too far here, but happens on the backstretch, I'd say, exiting turn 2. So we're going to see after this next set of corners. On the outside, looks like he's getting a decent run here on Mike Chivers. Actually, that's the 38, rather.
Yeah, that's Scott. And right about here.
Both those cars look loose there with the 90 and the 38, but the 24 just in the wrong place at the wrong time. We'll go on board with him. Looked like the 90 got loose.
There's the sail, and
that's tight. That's tight. That's coming off the corner and thinking you're going to hit the wall or the car next to you.
mandatory repairs for Greg Pillar. So he's had to take a fast repair or is in the boat to have to take one. Long repairs for the 24 as well. So we're back under caution. Wave around for the 1. Everybody else remains on the lead lap, who's still in the race. So those drivers who just pit, Britton, Daniels, Mama T, Wagoner, and many more. First on 4 tires, PJ Cox and Casey Ellis. And now, we talked already about the strategy getting tight. We're talking here 75 laps to go. I don't even know if it's a guarantee to say it's a one-stopper from those drivers who just pit here at this rate.
I don't. It'll be close. I think they'll be okay. They'll have to do a little bit of saving, but I think if they conserve for a few, they probably could make it in one stop. But if you're watering right now, in these pace laps you just topped off, you're probably on the edge of that window of not being able to save enough. So we've seen that he's willing to stay out longer than everyone else, and he'll have an extra set of tires compared to the rest of this field.
He did take tires. That's why he lost the lap, by the way.
Yeah.
So he is basically on equal footing to much of the field. Now for the restart. Hudson and Hennings on the front row. They're on 16 lap long stints. Tires on Hudson's car, Hennings not. Evans, tires taken only one time all race, 23 laps ago. He's in third. Greg Spiker, who's been a couple times, took tires 16 laps ago, is in fourth. David Collins, who took tires 16 laps ago, is in fifth. Tires on socks 16 laps ago in sixth. Freshies all the way back in 10th spot. Casey Ellis on back. A few others just topped off yet again towards the very back, including Daniels and many more. So just about all set to get back underway already. Coming at 82 laps ago to go in this one. Strategy roulette continues here in the VRX World Cup, the penultimate race of the season for 2024. It's early going here at Michigan.
Come on, boys, we got a Thrustmaster 818 to go win. Who's going to go all out to try to get this points advantage? You've got Daytona next week. Let's figure it out. Green flag back underway.
Back underway quickly to the gas pedal. And John Hudson holds on for now. Clean start. A couple bottlenecks in the pack. And the main thought on the radio is rubber bands. Rubber band going to break the way to the race lead, Brian Hennings.
That's impressive that Hennings got that drive into one like he did, especially with Hudson having fresher tires. It didn't mean much to the 74 car. He drives by him like a rocket ship and takes over the lead on lap 44.
Mama T nearly 4 wide in the heart of the pack. 3 wide for the race leaders as well. There's the 4 wide. Mama T gets shuffled back. Near contact again with several on the apron. All of this as well. Richard Hurst is going for the lead and a crash into 1. More contact in the slide into the pack. That's Collins. And somehow, everybody missed David Collins. They're still crashing with one of the spikers into it. Mama T is in it. And the 10 continues to hit everything but the lottery this past couple weeks.
Into the back of the 70 machine, and that was a check up there for what was happening in front of these drivers. I have to go back. It was Fiedler that was involved in that initially.
Yeah. Take a look. David Collins taking responsibility on the radio. See another look here. So 707 getting cause of caution as, again, 707, the secondary involving Teresa Spiker. Right there.
So let's go on board here with the 10 car. This happens quite a ways in front of him, but you see the 707 come down into the 14 here.
That was a brilliant save from David, but the 10 had to go somewhere.
Yeah. I want one more aerial shot here before we go back because I want to see how this 707 didn't hit anything. Maybe just floors it here. Or everyone dodges.
Snap the brakes, yeah.
Daniels. How about that?
Coming off a top off a couple laps ago on the fuel tank. How about this to give you a bit of a wake up in the heart of the pack?
Hello. And dodge one more.
Not bad.
Yeah, well done. I mean, as far as it goes, checkups in this deep of this field, you're 3-4 wide. It's kind of hard to see what's happening in front of you. And it's like Daytona, Talladega, where, especially on these restarts, these guys are so grouped up, it's hard to see in front. The spoilers are really tall. These cars, you can't see through them. So you're relying on people to check up and not do it too severely. And sometimes the seas part and there's just a car there.
Those who pitch just now, by the way, include Howerton, Meidler, Waterburn, Collins, Baggioni, and Britton also coming in. Britton actually had a 59-second pit stop from that situation. So it looks like the 59 around 64. Having a tough time because of that situation. So as they get prepared for the restart once again, most of the field did stay out here with 78 laps to go at the stripe. EOL, car 1, Logan Waterburn.
What happened to the one? Did he come down to top off? Is that what happened?
He came down, not sure. He did make contact with the 30 before coming down the pit lane. We can say that. And apparently that is a penalty since he made contact under caution, Bradley.
They're on point here tonight, enforcing these rules and paying close attention to everything under caution. But we're not quite at the halfway point. If you look at our race recap, 5 cautions, 14 lead changes, and we probably have 14 different strategies on the racetrack when it comes to tires and fuel. I mean, we're trying to sort it all out up here in the booth, but if you try to keep track of this, you'll lose your mind.
Yeah, we are still coming at 77 laps to go. And now we might have a call out. Benjamin Richards just said to say to us on the broadcast to hold our beer. I think Benjamin Richards just called his shot. I give him 5 laps before something happens.
Well, let's go on board with him here for this restart and find out.
He's starting 11th. Let's see if he lives up to his expectations he just raised the roof to.
I'll hold it. Here we go. Into the restart zone, about 300 feet. Benjamin Richards from 12th to 1st.
New race leader Brian Hennings yet again up front. Still keeping an eye on how that plays out of the mid-pack, but right now Jimmy Sox is the first on the inside line. Make it near 3 wide, the 3-1 that go 3 wide. No place to go as Hennings nearly hits the wall. Everyone nearly trips up behind. Here comes Richard Hurst.
How about that? Hodges back up to the front to the top 3. He's been patient all race long, in and out of this top 3. He's up just behind Jimmy Sox as they go into 1.
We've seen drivers go back and forth all night long. Hodges, after running in the 20s earlier, proving all that matters is the points in the end. Jimmy Sox scrapes the wall, and here comes Richard Hurst saying, we need to go now to the inside, now for Sipkin.
He dove to the inside of Brian Hennings, who's on old tires, looking like Superman for the 21 machine as he drops down to the bottom into the wake of Chris Hodges down the front stretch. Remember these two very dominant cars, and we have someone off the racetrack back there. That was I think that was the 14 of Ricky Evans that got shot down into the entrance of 1.
And that was with Greg Spiker this time. Technical issue warning to the 6, but it's Greg. Just came down a straightaway.
Yeah, he just door checked him into the entrance of 1.
Yeah, an interesting situation. Jimmy Sox is already being left out to dry by many. Up front, though, look at this. It's Casey Ellis all of a sudden a second. He's on the same tire cycle as the drivers for the battle for the championship. Ellis is now looking like he's saying, why not me, inside of Hurst for the lead. And here comes Hodges for second.
I saw that move down to the bottom. It's just not going to work. You're going to have to run your line and stay on the outside if you want to keep that momentum. Otherwise, you risk giving up 2, 3, 4 positions You see Ellis moves it back up the racetrack, car on the wall. That's Richards. We're still holding our beer here, but he's up to 5th.
Well, we're about 4 laps after the restart. He nearly smacked the wall for a good hold onto this moment. Ellis trying to hold on to the bottom of the racetrack. Most of the field up front using the outside. Richards, keep in mind, same cycle as everybody else in this pack. Hodges to 2nd as the bottom still not working.
Now he's opening up the door. Ellis allows the 15 car to peek to the outside into 3, and he's going to run the bottom again. He doesn't have a choice, and that's a freight train. He does get a little bit of a run, but the 15 car going to go back up on the big run.
But here comes Snaky Snake time. It may be outlawed now at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but you can still do it at Michigan.
Sneaky Snake, huh?
Yeah, they outlawed the move down the front straightaway because drivers were entering the pit lane at Indy.
Wow. Yeah, I don't, I guess I understand what you're talking about now.
Well, back straightaway. 2 drivers will have to go towards the pit lane. 1 is still spinning in PJ Cox. Back under yellow. This time it's off the front nose of the 5.
So the 0-5, PJ Cox, Mike Shivers in the 5. Back this up about half a minute, figured out what happened. Maybe the 05 comes down. I can't tell from that angle. Let's see if we can get a better one.
Now the main thought might be, was there air, was there not air at the distance? The air got a lot of penalties at Chicagoland, just 1 tonight.
That might have been a case of Shivers trying to use air. I think he was trying to get up there and side draft with the 05. But I think he just got a little too close.
Yeah, that right there.
And he's just getting too close.
Wasn't 100% flush, but here is the part where it might fall to the 5. He's got the highest ping in the entire field.
And that, are we going to call that air again?
I don't know if you can call it air when you have the highest pin in the field. That basically means you have to give more space, not
Right.
less.
Right.
But-
Man, that's tough.
Pit stop time right here. Still no call on that from race control officially, but the field seen a lot of top-offs again, including Hurst already done.
Yeah, 56 laps in. I think you just keep topping off. We're going to have yellow after yellow. You just got to keep yourself to that next stint, and then with about 38 laps to go, I think you're good. So we're around lap 85. No. Lap 80, I think, is the window. No more pit stops. Get your last set. See what happens.
So, field getting sorted. So, penalty to the air and a racing incident. So, for the second time tonight, the Oxygen will have to serve an EOL penalty. That doesn't mean the oxygen around the race cars is any less turbulent. By the way, the weather conditions for those curious right now, since we are on ovals, don't expect rain tonight. I know there's a lot of talk about, do we see rain races ever on the service? Never say never, but you never know. But it is pretty hot still on the surface itself. No wind. Seriously, it is nothing wind-wise, even though the flags are waving somehow.
Well, that lets me know they turned the air off this week. They were trying to prevent it.
I mean, if you turn the air off, you can't breathe, so I'll let people think about what no air really means. Coming to the restart. We're about 57 minutes in. Race control has just told the field, Bradley, if the cautions continue, it might come down to time.
We saw this at Auto Club to start the season out, and the sessions have been extended, but since then the racing had gotten better. It had cleaned up. But this track very similar to Auto Club, where you have a lot of runs and 3 wide. So curious as to why they shortened the races back up to just an hour 50 for the session. However, it gets expensive. You start to pile all that up. That extra hour that they weren't using could be used for other things, another server entirely for a short race or a practice. So I can understand maybe why they were trying to figure that out in the balance. But here today, it doesn't seem like it's deterred too many drivers from backing up.
Yeah, that's normally not a perspective people think about, because I will ask about that later on, but we are coming to a restart. Hodge is in control. Hunter, Richards, and Ellis the top 4. First to pit this time, Wagoner, all the way back at 13th. Green, green, green. Let's see how long they last this time.
I just gets one heck of a jump here on this restart. And he's starting to get out of range on this tail, that field, the second position with Hunter. Go aboard with him. He has the draft still, but if Hodges gets another good run into 3 and 4, he might be able to pull away from this field. Doesn't look like it. See, has a little help. Hunter gonna get pushed right back up. Richards dives to the inside now for the lead.
I think it's his time. Richards looking to show that it's his time to be a race leader. Nobody else wants to help him live his dream, though. Everybody else ditching him.
They all go to the outside. He loses 3 spots after that move. You got to know the momentum there on the outside is so much stronger. Continuing to drive it to the bottom of the racetrack, that's going to burn the right front off of it.
3 wide behind him, though. Mama T nearly got squished into the fence. Mike Chivers gets shuffled to the apron. What a save by the 5, nearly into Wagoner's door.
That deserves a replay.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. Yeah, that was nearly a stack up there, and then this could have been worse.
That's closer. That could have been another yellow. And here we are, back up front, 3 wide again. They didn't get enough of it.
Leaning on each other again. Jeff Scott able to zip himself back to the top 5 yet again. From EOL penalty to that. Right now, already, Teresa Spiker not afraid to use up all the right front nearly to the wall because Howardson zips by. Now there's a charge up for 3rd because Scott is going 3 wide behind him. Some of these drivers back here are saying sorry's on the radio with how tight it's getting. Nearly more contact with Greg Spiker, nearly turning the 1. How are they still going is the question. Near contact 4 times for cautions the past 2 laps.
They're on borrowed time. I can tell by the way they're driving these things right now. You see the 1 of Water into the inside of Spiker, the 6 in the middle, pinching him down. Offset 4 wide. There's openings all over this racetrack. Water loses the nose. Now 3 wide with Howardson in the middle.
Oh, that wasn't a smart one. Howardson had to slam off the gas, nearly turned. Casey Ellis going up the middle.
Howardson loses 2 spots there on that.
Yeah, that was going to be a tight window, Bradley, in the first place. Still keeping an eye on the 3 wide of the backdrop. The Spikers now alongside. Greg Spiker's got a big run. In fact, Greg Spiker is following Phillips through the pack all of a sudden.
And Greg on poor fresh tires here. Not sure how much driving on the bottom of the racetrack is going to help it, though. That's going to even these tires out. He's going to take a peek here in the middle. Down the back straightaway. He has the 6 car to the inside. Watering off the racetrack down the backstretch. Gets into... That's going to hurt.
Caution flag is out. Jimmy Sox jumping into it as well. Caution under review yet again. at the cross flags.
Somebody's
Also
in the
in-
doghouse.
I think both the spikers might be in the doghouse. Four cars in it. 3 with meatball flags, including Phillips and the spikers. Let's take a look.
I think Greg goes up and door checks Teresa and then starts this chain reaction. Maybe Teresa gets into him. I don't know. Let's see if we can get a better angle of it. Phillips drives through the 65 car. There's a good look there on the window net. Showing the hands. He's okay. Going forward with the 70.
Looks like a little bit of A, a little bit of B.
Yeah. One more time, flip camera maybe.
Racing incident on the radio because race control says they, quote, wrecked each other. Yeah, I think that doghouse will be both of them.
Yep.
That's their second major incident apiece tonight, by the way. So with this caution flag, it's time for the Thrustmaster through the field, presented by Thrustmaster. We'll look through the running order in just a quick second. But we can tell you these drivers that are going to be amongst your top runners for this run-through. William Brennan yet again staying out. He is currently 9 laps into a stint this time around. He topped off the last caution. Brian Hennings in second. Joseph Fagioni, John Hudson is amongst the top 4. Now keep in mind, Fagioni's been in a couple crashes. John Hudson has been able to recover from a massive slide tonight in the 3 machine. PJ Cox rounds out the top 5 as the last driver to stay out this caution. Meanwhile, Christopher Hodges has already taken time of 8 seconds in the pit lane to jump out first in the lane. Jeffrey Hunter is in 7th. 8th position right now is Bill Daniels. We've seen him lead 7 laps. Then it's Casey Ellis in the 9th spot. He used a set, and Jeff Scott used a set. He's in 10th position. That's a look once again at your Thrustmaster through the field, and what's been a wild one for Michigan. Time likely to become a factor for the rest of this race. Apparently, Richard Hurst had an ice cream cone, the race control just said, available to him in the pit lane. I am not sure if that was a serious call or not.
Yeah, he doesn't have his camera on for me to confirm that, so kind of disappointed. I could go for some ice cream right now. You know, I'm still holding that beer. Benjamin Richards told me to hold it up here, so I see the 56 machine back in 13th. How many different strategies do we have on this racetrack right now, JP?
Counting the different stints, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 or 6 different strategy plays at once.
This opens up a whole new window of opportunity for guys that feel like Superman to drive it down to the bottom, take them 3-4 wide, and we've seen the product of that kind of racing over and over. So hopefully, with the time being a constraint, we can see some green flag options. The guy's going to have to be patient. That's the main key here to Michigan, is being patient. If you have fresher tires, the inevitable will happen. Go to the outside, dive into the bottoms, burning these tires off, and I'd have to say that from my point of view, it hasn't worked so far. Why are we still doing it?
Let's try this yet again. William Britton doing something different. He chose the outside, the first driver to do so today. Somebody on the outside behind him needs to get the memo. To the restart zone, just past halfway, back underway. And that's not going to help him. The top line didn't seem to know that he was the control car.
Top line did not go with him. Hennings is going to hold on here to the second spot as they go into turn 1. Look deeper back in this field. Ricky Evans, some of these guys that are on fresher tires already taking it to the outside for the 14 car.
Lots of shuffling. Here's from the look inside the pack behind Collins. Still keeping an eye on this from Ricky Evans. 3 wide, offset in some spots. 3 wide heart of the pack as everyone tries bottom, middle, and top line.
Ellis down there on the bottom. The 35 machine also on fresh tires. He has the 05 of PJ Cox. These 3 cars with, I believe that's Daniels on the outside. He's moving through this field rather quickly. Everybody able to hold their line. Offset 4 wide behind him. Richards almost gets tagged by the 15. Hunter comes down off the exit of 2. They're still making contact, and the 56 takes the 15 for a ride into the grass.
Caution flag is out, and here we go again. Benjamin Richards is in it. James Wagner into it. Luke Rakowski, significant damage. Caution is under review. And soon, those ice cream cones from Race Control will have boxing gloves to give out with them.
Yeah, that's how the product here, you got to give more room. I know side draft is important, but there's no reason to lean on a car down the backstretch. You already have the momentum. I'll let you guys there in the chat be the judge of this, but based off of what I was seeing, there was plenty of room down there.
Right up there. Go ahead.
I know the 15 maybe have pinched down a little bit here, but there's plenty of opportunities on the inside to come down with them. I know you don't want to enter that corner that way, but we'll go down on board with Richards here.
This is where originally near spark. Right there. Then about there he says, you know what, I'm just going to hold the seam. Here's the thing. Richards came up into him.
Yeah, they both kind of came down, came up at the same time. I mean, you can probably ride on board with the 15 car and see the same thing.
Scene 2 down the track. And that, by this point, he's up for a ride. Tires aren't even on the ground by the time he slides up.
It's just people going for the same piece of real estate, and the windows are so tight. And we've seen it time and time again here tonight at Michigan. It's a factor of depth perception, maybe giving a little bit more than you want at times. That boils back to the patience that you need to race this racetrack. Because of the runs that you get, you're constantly going to be in a 2-3 wide situation, especially if you have newer tires.
Cause of caution, 15 car, because they said Jeffrey Hunter went down more than 50% compared to the coming up from the 56. He, along with Chivers, Ben Richards, Teresa Spiker with mandatory repairs being served or still making. So coming up to 55 to go, pretty soon we'll be in a fuel window. Eventually, something will change here in theory, Bradley. Let's go to commercial, shall we? We're under caution from MIS.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff. The motion and stuff was really, really on point.
Make you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Back live on V-Speed as William Britton in the race lead after another caution period. Christopher Hodges in second. Already a lot of 3x3, a couple rows deep already as another half of the field topped off, and we're crashing again. David Collins below the apron, saves it this time. They're trying. They are really trying.
Yeah, I understand the factors of getting nervous, especially when you're back here with drivers that maybe you can't judge on the fresher rubber, but right now it's just a matter of why are we leaning on each other? You got to give a little bit of room here. We're pushing these envelopes for where cars can actually go, and you're putting a lot of faith in somebody else on the outside or the inside. Give that extra little bit of room because you never know when they might need it.
I mean, there's a saying, who needs a car when you can have a shiny trophy? It's just a matter that the shiny trophy is real or imaginary. Right now, when you're going 4-1 in the heart of the pack, you're thinking about the imaginary trophy more than getting a real one. Now here we go again. Heart of the pack, it's the big one. Howerton, Phillips, many more are under caution. And they are still stacking big into the infield. I think that emphasizes the point I just made.
We saw 4 wide, and that was fresh tires on the outside, but somebody got into someone on the bottom and dominoed this field.
Yeah, that was not pretty in the 4 wide. It wasn't pretty back there.
Ow.
5, 6, 21, 38, 033 meatball flags. This was the trigger. And that's going to have championship ramifications. Her second in points coming in.
I'm not sure if Daniels bounces off of Howerton or exactly what happened, but he made an erratic move here. Yep. Looks like Howerton came down into his door.
Race control did say that there was air a part of that. There's a look at one car that hadn't made it start tonight, but there was tiny air that definitely shot a lot more than I think the 28 was expected.
Yeah. See right here, this is probably the best angle we're going to get of it. You see the 4 wide already starts here on the exit of 4, and they're tight, but I mean, you can't really fault any of the drivers for that, but at the same time, it goes back to what I was saying before all of this. If you're 4 or 5 cars wide and you're on fresher tires, the patience game. It's where it comes back to, I can take them 4 wide, but maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should go let the other fresh tires get by. I know we're thinking about the end of this race, but we're not going to make it there if we don't have a car to finish with, and a lot of these guys are finding that out.
Both the spikers out. Technical issues. Every car except for Chris Phillips had a faster pair available. And that leaves us with 50 laps to go. Time is definitely a factor now. I'll just say that much. We're at an estimated 30, 35 minutes to go on the clock, give or take. At this rate, we're not making it on green.
Yeah, it's going to be an early short to this race. 38 seconds to get around the track and just over half a minute. And we've got around 50 to go here, just under that. Doesn't look like we're going to make it, especially with the pacing taking well over 2 minutes at times after pit stops. Now it's a factor of, you said we didn't have rain on the simulation, but it's going to be one of those rain-delayed races where we're just not going to make it to the end of it, and you're going to have to predict that. When does that happen?
That's going to be up to the drivers at the rate we are playing things out, because under caution, the pace laps are nearly 2 minutes a lap. So if you do the math, each caution adds about 4 minutes worth of pacing, give or take. Once you factor in pit stops, the procedure to group up, restart, off and away. A lot to consider with 49 laps to go when we get to the stripe. Hudson choosing the outside. We've seen it worked out well last time for the control car. William Brennan now on the inside, but he does get to work with a Ford and Hodges. Hennings lines up Chevy to Chevy. Pace car is off. Expect things to be in sync on the outside this time with the team alliances. Never mind, Brian Hennings didn't get the message this time, and now there's a chance for Brennan to move up. There it goes. Just when you think the top line's got the signal, it doesn't get signaled, and we are having bumper-to-bumper contact at a 2. Race leaders trying to fight, and they're crashing again. Caution. And it's another portion of the field done. And Richard Hurst is in it. Richard Hurst, second in points. He used the faster pair of caution to go. He's in it again, and that could be his title.
Yeah, this car's crab walking. It's done.
He just used a faster pair for the exact same problem. And that is championship likely gone. Board crash happened in front. Nowhere to go.
We almost got through it.
He got hit twice by Rakowski.
Back this up one more time. Losing a little bit on my time markers, but he actually hit the wall. I think he was offset 3 wide there, coming out of 2. He went for a heck of a ride. The 33 car got into him. I think that was the 033 that slid down the racetrack. We'll back this up on a blip cam.
Tempers are flaring on the radio. Let's see from the helicopter. Cause of caution happened a couple rows up right. Already up, a hit in progress with the 28.
Yeah, Hurston almost made it through it, but the 033 got more contact and came down into him. Just a pinball. Let's go with the 28 car on this restart. I know Daniels had pressured tires in some of these cars. Came up in front of the 30.
And nearly picked up more contact with Hurst on top of it, but still is able to, at the very least, be able to roll through. Racing deal / error is the cause.
Yeah, I don't know.
Joseph,
I think Daniels came up on that one, but
yeah. Well, either way, Richards. Well, if you look at the 56, I wonder what part needs to be fixed. Because Ben Richards has no right front tire. No front bumper. The suspension's in the ground. The radiator's in the ground. There is no right front fender. And I'm pretty sure all the tie rods are broken. And somehow the virtual crew is trying to put new tires on it without a right front tire available.
Well, at this point, I think it's an open-wheeled, well and modified machine. And it needs a lot of work to get it back race-worthy. He'll be on pit road for probably the remainder of this time. We're looking at probably 8 to 9 minutes mandatory.
By the way, they've now officially, I just got the clarification, penalty 28 EOL. So we did get the caution. They also gave a penalty, EOL penalty to the 10. Joseph Fagioni entering a closed pit. Logan Waterburn, mandatory repairs as well still being fixed. Everybody else either out of the race or using a fast repair there. John Hudson still the leader.
He's
25 minutes. 25 minutes to go.
I mean, do we run out of time? Do we run out of cars? These guys really buckling up the sheet metal here tonight. We left quite a few smoking and broken in the second half of this race. And if you're the top 5 right now, you know, Chris Hodges, I think he's got a tire set in his back pocket. But is it worth coming down and trying to take that last set when you've only got about 20 minutes left in this session?
They have told the field, leave more space. That has been the cause for a majority of the cautions. Take that how you may will. It's Hudson, Britton, Hodges, Hennings, still at the top 4. Ellis, Hunter, Sox, Scott, Evans, Chivers, your top 10. 21 cars are still in the lead lap. We'll see how they play this time with 45 to go. Nearly jumping the start. This time is Hudson. Off and away we go.
He was playing with fire there on that speed, but I think everybody matches it there this time as they go into turn 1.
A little bit calmer on this restart after the thinning of the herd. Britton thinking about a move, no one to work with though. Casey Ellis losing ground in the backdrop as well. 2 by 2 starting to form up for fifth on back as the top 4 single file it out.
Looking here on board with Hodges, looks like he got a little bit loose there, not getting quite the run. This track has started to rubber in a little bit, and these cars not handling in favor of the guys that were running the middle to bottom groove right now. You're going to see them work way up the racetrack with Hennings. There's the 24 way up the racetrack as well. Contact back here with...
Oh, that's Jeff Scott again. And the Johnny Walker machine nearly walked into the inside wall yet again. That was a big squeeze, to say the very least, for that spot involving Howardson and Co. They keep finding the 5 letting by cars as they settle it back down for a split second.
Now we see the 74 of Brian Hennings to the inside of Hodges for the top 3. Don't like that he's pinned on the bottom, but he doesn't have much of a choice. 27 laps on the stint here. He has older tires than most of this field. Going to slide up in front of Hodges, get a good run off the exit. Pass for the lead now with Hudson.
Still side by side. Hudson still trying to sort out where to go, what to do. Britton still has the power, and look at the Dodgems. The 15 car, yet again, Jeffrey Hunter, even after all that's happened, is saying, I'm going to cut left, cut right, get up front. He's top 5. He's on some of the freshest tires.
He's got to be patient here. This is going to go back to, you've got cars in front of you that are on much older tires. You made it this far. It's only 3 spots left. Take your time.
Now it's down to 2 spots in front left to be able to work around up to 3rd. But the drivers on even fresher rubber, in some cases, are slowly diverging through the pack. big push in terms of the arrow from the second position, but it's 3 wide behind him with some of the drivers on the freshest of the fresh tires. Joseph Fagioni amongst those in the top 10 to keep an eye on. That 10 car is also on the move.
Offset 4 wide. There's Daniels at the bottom. DJ Cox. I'm seeing a lot of drivers that have went first to worst and back several times tonight. 28 down to the bottom of the racetrack here. Is it going to pay off? No, it's not. He almost gets the door chopped off.
Still 2 and 3 wide as the 10 keeps the momentum. Daniels loses all the momentum. Baccioni getting back to 10th. Up at the front though, the battle for second. Still on Hunter, not able to find a way around Hennings. He does have damage on that right front.
Oh.
Here's a little bit more damage.
Yeah.
Some more slides in the pack, and Hunter now gets hooked. Nearly warped into the front nose of Ricky Evans, in fact.
He was sideways there for a second. They hold on to it, but a change maybe for third. Check up here with the 3 of Hudson.
Trouble.
And cars down the racetrack.
That's Howerton again. This time with Wagoner. We stay green as they are able to save it. Somehow, we're still battling. For the race lead though, Hunter. Hennings now the race lead fight. Because it leads to the question, Hudson, where did he go? He's all the way back in 5th with all the shuffling playing out the way it is. And Britton getting shuffled back to 3rd in 1 straight.
How did Britton lose the lead? Did Hennings put a move to the inside? I'd like to maybe take a quick replay of that and see how that happened.
Well, there's a chance though here before you get the chance to do that. They might swap it back. He's got good speed, and Hudson nearly slammed 3 wide into cars.
Wow, Britton's loose.
That's a good reason not to hold on to the lead. Ricky Evans inside. Post-race incident review for lap 86, cars 24 and 30. Howerton and Wagoner, we stay green.
Britton is tight, and he cannot get through these corners. I can hear him lifting on the exits, and the 20, actually the 14 goes down to the bottom of the racetrack for 3rd. Be side by side and contact.
How about a run so big that he punts someone into the grass? Ricky Evans straight up the track. Caution flag is out. Straight onto the brakes and straight into Jeff Scott. Scott straight into James Wagoner, and we're back under yellow. And definitely put that in the 64. Look at this big run. That was so hard. He hit the wall and punted the car in front.
Ricky tries to hold on to it here, but he's just along for the ride at that point. You can't use the brakes down there in the grass. And the 38, man, I tell you what. Nowhere to go at all. He didn't even see that coming.
Yeah, that was a massive run. But then you have Scott, who's just trying to mind his own business. And then there's smoke. Thinks, I'm through it, we saved it. No, we didn't.
Whole front end's gone. And another finish there from the 30.
And Ricky Evans already indicated he's likely done. Scott and Richard still with meatball flags. So more troubles. And the 64 will have to go to the back here, expecting more pit stops yet again. By the way, we have an estimated 34 laps to go. Obviously, that's not the finishing distance. That's at least 10 laps shy of it. If not 1 lap shy, give or take math. Expect that to shrink every pace lap from here on out.
Now you're in the window of taking this last set of tires if you got them. There's Hennings with the right side going up, left side going to go up next. And I would say a lot of these cars are out of tires. So if you can find your way through this field, down and away now for the 74, the 10, who just tops off with fuel. Looks like the 15, maybe right sides only. Nope, 4 tires for the 15. There's a handful of cars that still had that last set, but now's the time, if you're going to use them, to bring them out.
And I think a lot of drivers just went with that mindset. That includes Jeffrey Hunter. That includes Brian Hennings, PJ Cox. A 2-tire call for the 66. Collins, Ellis, Hudson, 4 tires. Just about everybody who came down just took 4, except for the 10 and except for the 66.
You got 2 cars that stayed out here, Michael Howerton and Greg Pillar. Howerton 15 laps in his stint, so probably about 7-8 under green. And Greg Pillar up in second position. And Pillar, caught up in several things tonight, but still able to keep this car up into the top 3. And you look at the fast repairs here, JP. There's maybe, 4 cars in the top 5. Yeah, 4 cars in the top 5 that have already used it here. So they cannot afford to get too racy.
And Edward Feidler just backed out of his pit call. So the 66 like to come down, coming to 1 to green. And Howerton choosing the outside yet again. For Michael Howerton, yet again. Good speed at times tonight, but just cannot get the clean finish. Can this be the run he's looking for despite, well, possibly being in the doghouse for the incident that didn't bring out a caution? Better yet, is there going to be any chances for him to defend what's coming up with all the fresh tires behind?
And you've had an off day for points leaders. If you want to add yourself to the 2-time winner list, you really don't want that asterisk next to it where you get a penalty and it's null and void. So you need to be careful here in these next few laps because we're coming down to time. And you don't want to add any more red spots there on that list. These highlighters have been working overtime. These guys go back and review every single lap of this race.
Yeah, you don't want to be the driver with the cucumber finish or the encumbered finish, as many call it, or the Cumberbatch finish. After all, you don't want to end up giving your race win to Benedict Cumberbatch instead. Green flag is out, back it away. I hope someone got that joke, but the rest of the field hoping to make things not a laughing matter for the race win.
Here comes the speed of the new tires.
Here it comes 2 by 2. Will anybody take the run? Looks like they're playing cautious with the box in. Hiller on the inside, Howerton outside. Here comes the aggression, 3 wide for second. And here we go again.
Around.
Caution, Hennings, Ellis, Moore, slammed to the wall. Michael Howerton, nowhere to go. PJ Cox taking responsibility.
I don't think we have to go far.
Yep. PJ Cox saying he thought he was already cleared here.
There's a car to his inside the whole time. He's got the 3 down there as well.
This is called Why Spotters Exist. Yeah, you're still getting a spotter call here.
Yeah.
On board, PJ Cox. Technically, he nearly turned 3 as well.
Yeah, he came down, and I know Howardson's to the outside, but there's plenty of room there on that right hand to hold your line. Innings probably, I mean, he had the run, he had to take it, but at the same time, I'm saying but a lot here tonight, JP, because there's so many scenarios. I know we're coming down to the very end of this race, but if you were going to put it into a nutshell, patience has been thin here all night. There's been several instances of just driving in over what the scenario really dictates, and I know that these drivers off the track get along, but the way that they're being so aggressive with each other, it's almost like they're trying to prove that they belong somewhere. And I think if they would just dial it back 10% here on these restarts and let the run come to them, they would find themselves in the finishing order that they either worked for or deserve.
And for those that are wondering, what's that word mean? I've pulled out the Cambridge Online Dictionary. Once again, patience is the ability to accept delay, suffering, or ignore annoyance without complaining or becoming angry. For example, their constant complaining was the beginning to test or try their patience. Lots of drivers testing each other's patience here at Michigan. Remember, the next race is at Daytona, and that, depending on the point situation, could be very, very crazy.
Based off the fact that Richard Hurst is out of this race and the 34 is still out on the racetrack in the top 5, what do you think, JP?
I'm still afraid to say it's a lock because it's Daytona for one, but two, all it takes is one incident and Hodges goes from near virtual lock to barely gaining anything.
Yeah. Yeah, we still have plenty of cars out here to make that a possibility. But based off of this right here, we might be seeing one of the last restarts of this race. If we go green from here on out, 34 car could have it locked up going to Daytona.
And keep in mind, the race win 41 points scored last time. So a major thing to think about in terms of where that points distribution is. Right now, in terms of where Richard Hurst has scored, 22nd, that's 17. That's where that mathematical lock can be. That's if Hodges wins. Hodges right now has himself in line for 33 points. That's not including a lead lap point or the bonus point for most laps essentially throughout a race tonight. Hodges in 6th, race lead, Pillar and Hunter alongside Pillar in control, and now the 3 doesn't go. Wrong gear, big time. And the 3 is still not going. That's not 3rd gear, that's 4th gear at that rate.
Yeah, he lost about 7, 8, 9 positions there on just that entry into 1. All the way back to 15th. Cars trying to get sorted after that checkup, and it caused a bunch of static back here mid-pack. 3 wide, though, for the lead.
Here we go. Macchione trying to go inside. James Wagoner, he's been mid to backpack most of the night. Now he looks to try and draft off the 90. The Social Outcast Racing Machine saying now's the time to do some kind of move, any kind of move, as Hunter goes to the point. Wagoner having to baby the throttle down the straightaway. Fagioni nearly making contact with William Brennan as they go 3 wide again. Less than 12 minutes on the clock, Bradley. No time to breathe.
sitting here with Jeffrey Hunter at the lead, but the 30-car Wagner, who's been kind of a sleeper here in the last half of this race, dives it down to the bottom of the racetrack. He's on the same tires as the 15, and again, this bottom just not going to work. The 15's not going to give that outside. You're going to have to make a momentum run down the backstretch and do a slide job.
10 times William Brennan's been to pit lane, and now we're 3 wide for the lead with Brennan to the inside. Wagoner nearly moves Hunter out of the way. 3 Fords, side by side by side. And it looks like Hodges says, I'm going to push Hunter to the lead. Get clear to second. He goes for the point inside.
They're still 3 wide behind him here. The 30 pinches Britton down, but it's not going to be enough. Britton's going to get that run down the backstretch and be at his door. Hodges does not get the run off the corner, has to jump back up in line, and now the 30 back to the inside.
No chance to block that runoff this time. Still wheel to wheel for second. Jeffrey Hunter in a comfortable spot here, trying to play the mirror. Britton now having to work with the 30 machine. Back up to the front again. Jimmy Socks. He just keeps coming every time he crashes.
Well, he's been a victim of circumstance several times tonight, but minimal damage for most of it. He did burn that fast repair here for the end of this race, so back up into the top 5 of the 0-1. If you're Jeffrey Hunter right now, you're liking what you see in your mirror, but the 34 car dives it back into 3 and 4. Doesn't look like he's going to have enough momentum to clear it.
Nearly cleared himself across Hunter. Able to avoid contact. 16 estimated laps to go, under 10 minutes on the clock. Britton starting to give the shoves now to Hodges. Hodges with a chance to clear, tries to give a small late arc, now forced below the first seam. Can he clear? Nearly clears himself yet again.
Thought he might slide up in front of the 15, but wise move not to do that. The 30 pinching down, I'm not sure why.
Caution. And that was nearly trouble, but it's at the yellow from the back. Rakowski again, this time off Bill Daniels in 3 wide. And this could be one of the final restarts quickly right here. Black flag, Bill Daniels on his pit entry. Here's the reason for the caution. Yep, there it goes.
Right on board with Daniels here and see on that back straightaway. This is on board with the 0-33 to start out. I don't know.
Even if you say air, once again, the field was told, give more space. The reason for the cautions has been lack of space. That's definitely less than 3 lanes utilized by 3 cars.
Yeah. Might not like the entry you're going to have into 3 on that, but wait till that corner before you come up. I mean, these guys are pinching each other pretty hardcore. And Daniels down pit road. Jeffrey Hunter maintains the lead here on lap 103. And JP, this is probably going to be the last restart, I would say.
On the return, about 4 minutes on the clock. We're down to under 8 minutes on the clock. So you could throw that lap counter up in the corner out. Right now we're looking at under 10 laps to decide this. I will say Christopher Hodges was very lucky with the time of that caution flag, because at the time of when the yellow flag, he nearly spun it.
Yeah, he was getting leaned on hard by the 30 of Wagoner on the outside, and then got some touch from William Britton before they entered 3. So, I mean, they were trying up front. If it didn't happen back there, it could have happened going into turn 3.
So expecting one to go this upcoming time by. Hunter's been making it clear, even with the fact he's destroyed the right front fender on that car, he's not easy to pass in the clean air. So what does Hodges do? Especially knowing that, you know, Hodges is working with Hunter. Better yet, Do they want to change the pattern around here? Wagoner is not in the reliance of Fords, mind you.
I think right now, if you're like Hodges, you're just thinking, okay, this is the points that I need for Daytona, that anything can happen and nothing will happen to me. I'm going to come out of this race in the top 3. If you're Hunter, you're probably going to run the outside. He's already hitting the choose on the outside. So that's going to force Hodges down low. But as soon as I can get to the outside, that's what I'm going to do. If I'm second on back, I want to be on that outside line because there's no reason right now to take it to the bottom unless you're forced down there.
Post-race review is the call for the most recent caution. Coming up to 5 minutes on the clock when we get back going, if not 4. This likely very well the last restart on time. We've turned about 104 completed laps so far. Very likely comes down to this last stretch. Hunter and Hodges on the front row. Wagoner and Britton, 3rd and 4th. Ellis and Sox, Hudson and Pillar, Hennings and Cox. Whatever you have left, you better show it now if you want to win.
Well, tell them that, JP. I think a lot of these guys still have something left in the tank, and I'd like to see this race finish under green.
Who's the pick?
I'm 0 for 1 here tonight. Right now, I'm thinking Jeffrey Hunter just holds on. I don't think anyone's going to contest him. I think they get too racy back here from second back.
Feel being told to tighten up both lanes. They respond by spreading out more.
There it is.
Hunter in control for the restart. Almost out of time. 4.5 minutes on the clock. This is for the win. Green flag is out. Near perfect start for Hodges. Able to get a side draft for a good pin through the restart zone. Hodges shuffles the second.
I think that's what Hodges needed to do, but now this is the second part of what I said. Don't try to go to that bottom. Stay on the outside and let these guys stay behind you. If you try to dive it down, you're going to lose position. Stay up high.
Tries to wind it up now. William Britton shuffling his way to 3rd. Coming to 6 laps to go, estimated on the board. Under 4 minutes on the clock. Hodges waiting, still not peaking. Now he goes. He's trying to slider. Can he get it done through turn 1 and 2?
No, he can't.
He does.
Car down the racetrack.
No caution. We stay green. Hunter to the lead. It didn't work.
Britton drove it even lower down on the apron, but look at all the time lost there for the 34. Stay on the outside. You're going to lose these positions. This is points. Think about the big picture here. Now a slider from the 30 of Wagoner.
Wagoner back up to 2nd. Now Hodges pushes him forward. Hunter doesn't want to give anybody draft going to the apron. Wagoner goes for the slide job. Block attempt. Fails for Hunter for a moment. Britton sends it 3 wide for 2nd. Here comes Hodges. He's now back to the bumper once again of his teammate in Hunter. 4 estimated laps to go.
Get it again. Stop going to the bottom. I'm telling you, it's not going to work. Nobody's done it all day long.
Hold on. He's done it though. Hunter got tight. It's Hodges to the lead.
Wow.
It's not done yet though. Britton going for 2nd again. And Hunter back to the outside.
He's going to have a big run here down the backstretch.
Does he choose to go? Hodges scissor blocks him. Now your friends are where you make them. Hunter's in the wall. Jimmy sucks off the gas. Under 2 minutes to go. 3 wide on the apron. A tight move for John Hudson to get alongside. Under 3 laps to go from MIS. Hodges right now holds on to a quarter of a second lead. And all of a sudden, Casey Ellis is in the conversation. Can he steal it? Coming at 2 to go. No one's closing. 1 minute to go, Bradley.
This might be Hodges wrapping it up here. I know these guys side by side back in second, third, fourth position. They're having to change their lines. Almost some contact there between the 35 and the 30. You see a little bit of a close here by Ellis now down the backstretch.
Hodges
He takes it to the outside.
Oh, a hard bump. Ellis got loose. Brennan shuffles him out of the way. Expecting the white flag here. 30 seconds on the clock. Coming up to the VRX, 1 to go from Michigan. Hodges tries to hold on by 2. Car late, 19 seconds, just 19 seconds on the board. Now on a slide from Brennan. Wagoner outside for third. Able to get alongside the 64 losing time. Hodges all the way to the white line, trying to play defense on Casey Ellis. One more corner. Can Hodges hold on for back-to-back wins on the trot? Through 3 and 4. A wild race comes to an end. Christopher Hodges gets himself the points he needs to just about lock up a title. Back-to-back wins. What a finish. An exciting finish.
I will retract my statement. The bottom does work.
It just so happens to be the 34, your points leader, who becomes the one to make it work at the time to get it to work. And it looks like
Do you have the confidence now, JP?
I think you can basically just about say it is. Based on the projections here, with Hurst 22nd and Hodges the winner, it's basically a lock. Christopher Hodges is in prime position to win a championship entering Daytona. So long as he takes the green flag, he will likely be your champion next week. So as he crashes into victory lane to burn it on out. Post-race interviews and your final results when we return here on V-Speed. You're watching the VRX World Cup. We'll be back after a message from our sponsors.
I played a couple of simulators and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
Make you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Welcome back, everyone, to V-Speed's coverage of the VRX World Cup. After a busy night from Michigan that ends up finishing on the time limit. Justin Prince, Bradley Cooper with you, as let's take a look at your unofficial race results here from the Irish Hills of Michigan, where Christopher Hodges picks up a second consecutive win and is a virtual lock for the championship unofficially. KCL is second, James Wagner, your top three. William Britton finished off in fourth alongside Jimmy Sox. John Hudson finished in sixth after leading several times tonight. Brian Hennings, despite being involved in the big one, still recovers to seventh. He originally started 27th. Jeffrey Hunter, he was in the hunt all race until the very end. He finishes eighth after hitting the wall on the outside out of 3 and 4. Faccioni and PJ Cox, your top 10, Bradley.
Going back to 11th, Greg Pillar's going to come home in that 90 machine. Paul McDonald, we saw him up leading some laps. He started on the pole here tonight, finishes in 12th. Daryl Arnson's going to bring it home 13th. Didn't mention the 51 too much tonight. Luke Rakowski, I think he hit everything tonight. Tough break for the 033. Mike Chivers in 15th tonight. David Collins 16th. Edward Fiedler in 17th. Bill Daniels with a late race penalty 18th tonight. Jeff Scott in 19th. And Michael Howerton in the 24 is going to round out 20th.
21st going the way of Ricky Evans, then Richard Hurst finished 22nd. That is the nail in the coffin for the championship, likely from the 21. Ben Richards, Logan Waterburn, Greg Spiker, Chris Phillips, Teresa Spiker. Then Epker had a technical issue very early. Then Tony Richards, an interesting note, technically not a starter for the race, did at the very least put the car on pit road, just never took a lap. That's looked top to bottom at the unofficial race results. 13 cautions in Michigan.
Yeah, it was a rough one here tonight, but I will say that after what we saw with how people survived this race, Chris Hodges getting his second win of the season did what he needed to do in the later half of this 8-race season to put it on top. And it's all about those prizes. At the end of the day, that's what these drivers are competing for. And the 818 Thrustmaster wheel, that Ferrari Edition direct drive, is probably going to be mounted to a desk somewhere in Chris Hodges' room.
Let's take the chance to talk with your top three finishers. First, third place, James Wagner had a great chance to be able to lead late. He didn't get any lead laps tonight, but came to the front when it mattered most after being a ping-pong ball at points of the tonight. James, you're in the hunt for the win at the end. Talk us through that final run in the battle for the race win.
I was just trying to be patient and just let it fall in place, I guess.
Well, a lot of times you got bounced around from place. How difficult was tonight?
I was just trying to take it easy, and I was just going to try to go at the end, which that's what I done. But it was pretty rough there for a while. But just glad it's over with.
Well, believe you might be the one reason it's not a full mathematical lock, if that, for Hodges for the title fight. So Daytona's the finale. How do you
Oh,
feel
yeah.
about that being the finale?
Oh, Lordy. I guess I feel pretty good about it, but just got to stay out of trouble. Just be there at the end.
Who do you want to thank for the run tonight?
Got to thank all the guys that was in chat with me. Richard Hurst, Jeff Scott, um, Ricky Evans. They was a bunch of them in chat with us tonight, but all my Roughneck teammates, you guys for putting on the broadcast, VRX, American Sheepdog, Roughneck Racing, James Wagner's Welding, Noma TV, um, plus my cousin Timmy Richardson. He was spotting for me a little bit, and Jason, he come in and spotted a little bit, but that's about it.
Congratulations on the top 3.
Yep, appreciate you.
James Wagner finishing 3rd tonight after starting back in 14th position. 30 Machine winds up in the top 3. 2nd spot tonight, Casey Ellis. He shot up through the pack quickly towards the end. Bradley, he's going to be standing by in a moment with you.
Casey Ellis in the 35. I tell you, man, your machine really came on late in this race. It seemed like you were hovering around the top 10 most of the day, but you're one of the few cars that didn't get caught up in a lot of these cautions tonight.
Yeah, I'm shocked. I had a 1X the whole race. Usually it's not like that. But I guess the tires held up, and I for once was good with pit strategy. I have no idea how that works, but it happened.
Well, we were talking about it in the pre-race, who was going to save that last set of tires, but not only do you come out with that, but you have that fast repair still in the back pocket. And unfortunately, it's not T-Mobile here. They don't roll over to Daytona, and that's the place where you're probably going to need it the most. How about the super speedway for the finale?
Well, I didn't really show well at Talladega, but I will say that super speedways and plate racing in general, especially with these cars, is kind of my bag. It's kind of what I do best, at least in my own opinion. I don't really like to brag. I don't, my results show on super speedways. I have more wins there than anywhere else, really. But Daytona, it's going to be tricky because, especially with all the tight quarters, it's more narrow than Talladega. Some very, very aggressive drivers here. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. It's really just going to roll the bones and see what happens, really.
Well, after tonight, second place finish, I know that helps you tremendously in the points and a little bit of a turnaround. I think this is the second time we've gotten to talk to you post race. So, Casey, I know you got him. Go ahead and thank him.
This is actually my first time in the booth here, and first off, I want to thank you guys. I want to thank you guys for putting on a freaking awesome broadcast. The whole VRX crew, they make this awesome event possible. I got my sponsors, Zero Neal, a friend who wishes to remain anonymous. You know who you are. Love you. Diesel from Dogbox Racing. She took me on. She's awesome. I love you, Diesel. My unofficial teammate, Greg. My friends, Kat, cameraman Paul, Travis, Bobby, Beanbag, Lily, Selena, the other more pointy Lily, Martin, and my roommate Doug for putting up with my constant racing.
Well, Casey, you're definitely right. This is the first time we've had you up here because I've never heard a list like that.
I was prepared.
We appreciate your time. Congrats on the second place finish, and we'll see you next week at Daytona, buddy.
Thank you so much.
Casey Ellis, second place finisher here tonight at Michigan. And that finally brings us down to victory lane. Second time winner, Chris Hodges, is in there with JP.
Yes, indeed. Let's take the time to speak with Christopher Hodges. Chris, it wasn't the way many people drew it up tonight, but this evening, you're a back-to-back race winner and a virtual lock. Unofficially seem to be the championship delegate. How does it feel to be able to get the win?
Oh, it's great, man. Man, I never thought I would be able to get this far, in this VRX World Cup. Last year struggled, didn't have a lot of luck. Had some good luck, but not a lot of good luck, and got a good finish in the season, but was seeking a first win, that's been in the back of my mind. And last week we got it done, and I feel like I've got that weight lifted off my shoulders. So we've got that taken care of, and now, yeah, 2-time winner. So it feels great.
So not only that, very good position entering Daytona, because one of the main talking points before we started the broadcast tonight was it was going to be hard to make it a lock with it being Daytona as the finale. This win and the bad luck to your second place driver in the points coming in, Richard Hurst, makes it a near lock. How big has this season been, knowing what you mentioned in terms of knowing the performance last year, and Inter, what do you think changed this year to be able to get this big swing of success compared to last year?
Well, I was barely on the service last season, so just getting my feet wet, and just making myself more accustomed to how iRacing is, and because I ran NASCAR heat races, league races for a while, and it was a big change to go from that to then to now, and in iRacing. So definitely. Definitely a big change, but I feel like I brought some stuff over from doing the console league racing, and but yeah, I learned a lot last season, knowing when to be patient. I just watched back some of the race and uh, was patient at some times, but aggressive at others. But I knew I had that points buffer, and I knew Richard was out of the race. Unfortunately, not how I wanted to battle a championship with him, but it was definitely. It was definitely a great night, and I was going for the win there. If I wrecked, I wrecked. I still knew, like I said last week, if I can get 20 points above, that's completely fine by me. So just was going to be aggressive and just try to hopefully get a good run on the 15, and that's what we did. But early in the race, I just want to point or say this. I stayed in the back because I knew to save some tires, but I didn't realize that. The time was going to be an issue, so I still had to set in the pits. But and I contemplated with about 15 minutes left in the session whether I should pit from second, but I just decided not to. Track position was too much, so, and I didn't think anybody else had any tires. So, but good win overall. I'm just excited to be a 2-time winner in the VRX World Cup Series and possible champion.
Well, I'm pretty certain you were the only one left with the tire set based on who came to the pit lane with around that 15-minute to go mark. So there's that. But also, now knowing what you know entering Daytona, what's that approach going to be like? Because as said, it's a virtual lock, but not a full lock. It depends really on one post-race review, believe, in the case of the 30, because they were in an incident with one driver. But how do you approach Daytona knowing you basically just need to start and not finish last, basically, to win a title?
Well, I did look at the points. I think I'm at least 30 ahead, so hopefully I'm gonna try to be aggressive, but don't make any mistakes. Don't do anything to lose points, get a penalty. So yeah, I'm just gonna go for the win. I'm gonna say it right now. Just go for a three-peat, 3 weeks in a row. So I'm gonna try to be aggressive. Don't really know what I'm gonna do at the start of the race. Like I did this race, I might start in the back and just make my way forward, or may just try to race up there the whole race. It's what I'll have to contemplate this week. So, but I know that I've got a very good shot to win this championship.
Anyone who want to thank for the run tonight?
Oh yeah, parents, huge supporters. I couldn't do this without them. VRX, all our sponsors. Definitely Mama T. Like I said, she's been a huge supporter of mine and a huge supporter of VRX. This wouldn't have been able to be possible without her support. And broadcast team, you guys have been great all season. I know Bradley picked me to win last week, and I made him right on that. So, but yeah, just I'd like to thank just everybody that I've been racing around. Up in the front here, it's a lot more competitive, and I've been, like I said, I was working with Jeffrey and a few other drivers, and it just seems like there's a lot of respect. And hey, we make mistakes sometimes, but that's why we had the faster pair. So
Well, once again, congratulations on the win. We'll see how the points go officially, and we'll see what things look like for Daytona.
yep, thank you guys, appreciate it.
Christopher Hodges gets himself a second consecutive victory. I'd like to thank him and the rest of our top three for taking the time to speak with us during post-race coverage here on V-Speed. Bradley, lots of cautions tonight, but for Chris Hodges, a lot to feel happy about potentially for Daytona.
Yeah, I'm liking his confidence level going into that race, and I would admire the aggression going into that week, but we still have a lot of racing left to do, and there's, the asterisks here with 21 car being off the racetrack. You got to look at all the factors going into Daytona because that's a whole different ball game with the pack racing, the drafting, the partners. Does the 34 car have a partner out there on that racetrack? That's what we're going to have to find out as we get ready for the last race of the season finale at Daytona, March 22nd at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And that's where we'll crown our champion and the winner of the Thrustmaster 818, the T818 wheel Ferrari edition. We also have prizes from Butt Kicker and Carpe Diem Creations on top of all of it. I think it's shaped up here for this top five that if you fell into a position to be one of those big prize winners, you got to still be happy with it.
Should be a fun time to say the very least at Daytona. We'll see how drivers fare out 9 p.m. Eastern once again from the Bolts that are racing Bradley.
We hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast here live on V-Speed. If you did, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss a single race. We will bring you the last race of the season at 9 p.m. again. And we have racing at Saturday Night Racing League. That'll be at 10 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow night. So we hope you can join us there as well. But for everybody at V-Speed that helped put this together, Adam Baker, our other three producers, Eddie Smith, Morgan Cook, and Christian Hill, my co-commentator of the night, Justin Prince. This is Bradley Cooper telling you to have a great weekend. We'll see you next time here on V-Speed.
And here comes Milo, big run out of 4. He's going to be there.
Tristan Martin's there. Cannot count after 37.
Oh!
The round gets burned!
Cabot, where did he come from?
Here
comes Zwack.
A punch from the 33.
It's a drag race.